Yo, what is good, everyone? Happy Friday. Hope y'all are having a great week so far and got some good plans here for this Halloween weekend. Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite cash game plays for this Week 8 NFL DraftKings main slate. We got 11 games here on this slate, and what I'm going to do here today is go position by position, talking about each cash game play that is sticking out to me. With that being said, let's dive right into my spreadsheet here. And just like we always do, we're going to kick things off here in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. We got just one of these games coming in with an implied total of above 50 points. Two are very close, though, at 49.5 and 49 points. But outside of that, it looks like it could be a relatively low-scoring main slate. And then I got the highest implied team totals listed behind me there. As always, you can use that as a reference point as I'm going through some of my favorite cash game plays here. With that being said, we're going to kick it off with the quarterbacks here, and quite a few big names left off the main slate, but we do get Jalen Hurts back. His price really didn't change, still here at $8,300. Look, I've talked about him all year long. We know the safe floor he brings. We know the high upside and ceiling that he has, and a good matchup here against a Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So if I can find that money to pay up for Jalen Hurts this week, I by all means want to do that. But I also want to spend up at the running back and wide receiver position. I'm fine with spending down on tight end and defense. Will I have enough money left over to pay up for Jalen Hurts will be the question. And I still got to put together my final lineup here, but like I said, if I can pay up for him, I really want to do that. Now, let's say I end up spending up at the running back and wide receiver position to where I have to pay down at the quarterback position. There's two different options that I think we can go with, or two different routes, if you will. Number one, we can just spend down at the bare minimum here with Sam Ehlinger, who's getting his first NFL start with the Indianapolis Colts. Matt Ryan has been benched for what it sounds like the rest of the season. He didn't even get bumped down to the number 2 string quarterback. He got bumped down to number 3 behind Nick Foles. So Ehlinger here, bare minimum price. We need about 12 DraftKings points in order for him to meet value at 3x. Now, can he get there? I mean, 12 DraftKings points really isn't a lot at the quarterback position, but at the same time, we are kind of throwing a dart here on a guy we've never seen play a single snap in the NFL, but I do know people within the industry that will be going this route because, again, it's the bare minimum price at $4,000. You really don't need a lot for him in order to meet value, and it allows you to spend up elsewhere. Now, to be honest, not a route that I really want to go, but he was worth mentioning on the cash game side of things because, again, you don't need much from him. I would prefer to spend in this upper 5K range, low 6K range if I can't get up to Jalen Hurts, and there's a few different routes that I think we could go. Cousins against the Arizona Cardinals at home. That game does have some shootout potential. And then Geno Smith and Daniel Jones, who are playing against one another. You know, Daniel Jones has been a little more consistent, but Geno Smith has shown more upside. I like Geno more if DK Metcalf does play this week, but I highly doubt that he will. I also like Kenneth Walker quite a bit as well, too. So, yeah, maybe it's Cousins, Daniel Jones, then Geno Smith for me. But again, if I could pay up for Jalen Hurts, I want to do that. Now, moving over here to the running backs, and listen to these numbers. Derrick Henry against the Houston Texans in his last 3 games has combined for 673 total yards and 7 touchdowns. I had to triple take that statistic. I thought, there's no way in hell that is correct. If you go back and look at his game log, though, it is 100% true. And here's the thing. Houston's defense hasn't been much better this year and actually ranked dead last in rush DVOA. So I'm not suggesting that Henry's going to go for 200 total plus yards in this game and multiple touchdowns, but he's certainly trending that way. Next, I got Josh Jacobs there, who has been an absolute beast since week 4, and I put his numbers off to the right-hand side in the notes as well. He's played 83% of the offensive snaps since week 4, essentially making him a bell cow. He's getting involved in the rushing game, obviously, but getting heavily involved in the passing game. You really like to see that. Now, he did have a $1,000 price increase this week, but rightfully so, because this guy is averaging around 27.5 touches per game and a total of 174 yards per game since week 4. So I like him here once again in this matchup against the New Orleans Saints, largely due to the volume. And I know historically we've looked at this Saints defense as nobody can run the ball against them. That really hasn't been the case this year, so I'll go back to Jacobs. I then got Kenneth Walker there of the Seattle Seahawks, so I kind of name dropped dropped earlier when I was going through the quarterbacks. Like him once again this week, talked about him last week. He also got a price bump up here this week, but I'll go back to him at this price of $6,500. In his last 2 starts, basically since he's taken over as RB1 in this offense, once Rashad Penny got hurt, he's averaging around 23.5 touches per game and 139 total yards per game, so I really like that, especially in this matchup here against this Giants defense, who rank 30th overall in rush DVOA. And then with no Zeke this week, I like Tony Pollard here of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, if you look at Zeke's status, he is listed as questionable right now, but word is that he will not play on Sunday. Do monitor that. If we get word on Sunday morning that Zeke is going to give it a go, then yeah, I'm not going to play Pollard in my cash lineup, but I don't believe that he is going to play, which will put Pollard in an RB1 position here in a good matchup at home against the Chicago Bears, who rank 24th overall in rush DVOA. You know, it's not often we get Tony Pollard in that RB1 role, but a lot of us have been wishing for this for quite some time. Let's see what he can do with it here on Sunday. And then I got 3 honorable mentions there. Now look, everyone, I think 7 running backs on my cash game spreadsheet is too much. I went back and forth here and debated who to remove, but I truly believe all 7 of these guys are cash game viable. It's not like last week where I was like, all right, lock in Eckler, lock in Jacobs, lock in Walker, and then figure out the rest of your lineup. We have more viable options here this week. I do believe that Barkley, Kamara, and Mostert are all cash game viable and can meet 3x value. Now folks, before we dive into the wide receivers here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. I know we're already 8 weeks into the NFL season, but we still got a long ways to go, and I'm gonna have football content coming out for you guys for the remainder of the year. Alright, now hopping into these wide receivers here, and if you want to spend up for a Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, I have no issue with that whatsoever. Those guys are usually cash game viable, but I like rolling with Tyreek Hill here of the big 4 that I just mentioned because number 1, he's the cheapest of the 4, and number 2, he's got the best matchup here against the Detroit Lions, who rank 31st overall in pass DVOA, and the numbers have been there for Tyreek. I know notoriously in the past, he's a boom-bust type of player, he's a GPP-only type of player. Look, Tyreek here has double-digit targets in 5 of 7 games. The other 2 games, he had 7 and 4 targets. So yeah, the game where he had 4 targets, not good, not cash game viable. But outside of that, the numbers have been there, and again, just a smash matchup against these Lions. Now, I will want to keep an eye on the status of DK Metcalf here this week. If he doesn't play, I do like Tyler Lockett. I like Geno Smith less because, well, obviously he has 1 less pass catcher to throw to, but I think I like Kenneth Walker of the 3 the most to begin with. But again, I think Lockett is viable here, assuming that DK is out. He should be force-fed targets his way. Again, in a great matchup here against this Giants defense, who are not only bad against the run, but not very good against the pass either. They rank 26th overall in pass DVOA. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, how the hell are the Giants playing so well this year when their quarterback's not all that great, their defense doesn't look very good? Their head coach, Brian Daboll, that man is a guru. I don't know if what they're doing is sustainable going forward, but what he's done with this Giants team so far is truly unbelievable. And then I got Chris Olave there of the New Orleans Saints, who's also in a really good matchup at home here this week against the Las Vegas Raiders, who rank 30th overall in pass DVOA. Just looking at his numbers here earlier, the targets are there, the yards are there, the touchdown upside has been there. He's hit double-digit DraftKings points in every single game this year outside of Week 1, which, hey, it's his first game in the NFL. We can ignore that game, but he truly looks like a bottom-tier wide receiver 1. I don't want to put him in the upper echelon quite yet, but if he keeps playing like he has to start this season, I think the ceiling hasn't even been scratched to where he could be in a couple years from now. And then I got a few honorable mentions listed there as well. It feels gross putting DJ Moore on my cash game spreadsheet, but did have his best game of the season last week with PJ Walker, going up against the Atlanta Falcons here this week, whose secondary is banged up right now. Doesn't look like Casey Hayward's going to play. AJ Terrell is listed as questionable. And at 5.3K, that's pretty damn cheap for a guy that is a tremendously talented wide receiver. That's never been the question. It's, can his quarterback get him the ball? We saw PJ Walker do that last week. George Pickens, their tough matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles, but likely a game they are playing from behind, needing to throw the ball. The chemistry between him and Pickett has actually been pretty damn good, so I don't mind him at $4,700. Wan'Dale Robinson is just getting steadily more involved in this Giants offense, and I do like the matchup for him against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the plan is to spend down at the tight end and defensive positions. We don't have Travis Kelce this week, no Mark Andrews, Darren Waller's banged up. You could pay up for George Kittle, but I don't have any interest in that. Tyler Higbee here of the LA Rams coming off a bye week. His ankle should be healed up. Had his worst game of the season back in week 6 when he was battling that ankle injury, but prior to that, he had a really steady role in this offense, essentially acting as the number 2 pass catcher behind Cooper Kupp, because while we all know that Allen Robinson has not lived up to the wide receiver 2 hype that we were all expecting out of him. Now, I don't expect him to replicate these numbers, but back in week 4 against this 49ers team, he actually had 14 targets in that game and finished with 17.3 DraftKings points. Now, it was his first game playing with Kenny Pickett last week, but the chemistry with Freiermuth and Pickett looked really good. He finished that game with 9 targets, and I think he's still a little too cheap here at $3,900, considering the consistency we've seen out of him, as well as the upside. And then Dalton Schultz there basically comes down to Dak Prescott. This guy plays so much better with Dak in the lineup, and just more volume goes his way. Again, I mentioned this last week. This was a guy that floated in the 5K range last year, and now we're getting him in the 3K range. I also got some honorable mentions there if you can't pay up for these 3 guys. First is Irv Smith of the Minnesota Vikings, Juwan Johnson there of the New Orleans Saints, and Noah Fant of the Seattle Seahawks. And then I got a couple of defenses here for you. Now, the Jets actually might be too expensive for me to pay up for this week at $2,900, but I do like the matchup here against the New England Patriots. Mac Jones is expected to start, and he has 7 turnovers this year in just 4 games. This Jets defense has looked good, forcing 11 turnovers and racking up 15 sacks through 8 games. Now, if I want to spend down just a little bit more, I like the Washington Commanders. Basically comes down to the matchup here. They're going to be playing against rookie quarterback in Sam Ehlinger and his first career NFL start. And as always, going to wrap up the spreadsheet here with a low-priced option or sub-4K wide receiver play. DraftKings has made it a really gross section this year. Anything below 4K has primarily not looked good. I know we've been able to find a little bit of value, and maybe Chris Moore does offer that this week, but I'll be honest, not super interested in this play here. But considering that Nico Collins is likely set to miss this week and the rumors surrounding that Brandon Cooks could be traded, we should see Chris Moore here take on a bigger role as a wide receiver in this Houston offense. He's got a great matchup here as well against this Tennessee Titans secondary, who have allowed 43.6 PPR points per game to opposing wide receivers this year. That's the 3rd most in the NFL. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks. Let's win some money here on this main slate. I'm out of here.